It's Pam. I'm back with my third episode into my father's tales as we remain in lockdown and trying to find ways to be productive besides cooking and cleaning and organizing and reorganizing. Um, Listening to music is good. I will have an entry about music and my dad. But today I want to talk about he was interesting in that back in the day, he when I was a young kid, he and my mom would go to to real nightclubs, the kind that had orchestras where you had the uh, the things in front in front of the musicians. I don't even know what you call them, but where they would have the name of the orchestra leader on it, and the people would sit behind them and they would hold their music. It was music stands, but they had fronts on them. So I guess they were elaborate music stands. But they would go to where you had the cabana, you had the kind of horseshoe kind of booths that were half moon booths, and they would really dress up, and they would go out and go to nightclubs. And my mother had great after five clothes too, but I want to talk about my dad's clothes because this is about my dad. And would he was game. He let my mother guide that, and my mother had a wonderful fashion. She was a fashionista, and she she had a good eye, and so he let her guide him in that way. But he would dress up with the kind of the after five for men look without it being a tuxedo. I don't know that he ever really owned a tuxedo per se, but certainly after five men wear, evening wear for men. And I remember when Christmas, they were going to go out with some other members of the family. We'd have Christmas party together, and then as it got late, the adults would go out, and then I was the youngest, and so I was the one I guess they had to be concerned about. And so there would always be either my mom's mom, or we would be at her house, or my older sister, something. But one Christmas I remember, he at that time there was this stuff that you spray in your hair. It was colored, and it was like gold metallic and silver metallic, or it made your hair look gray in the temples. And my dad, even though he was just shy of his 80th birthday when he passed away in 2001, he really was never completely gray. He had some gray, and he never went completely bald. He had thinning hair on top, and he had kind of a bald spot in the back. But he never lost all of his hair, and he was never completely gray. He aged well. My dad aged well. I will say that. He definitely aged well. And uh, but he let my mother spray gray into his temples. And I thought he was such a good sport about it. And he was really, uh, I loved seeing them dress up and go out. I thought it was very cool. I couldn't wait to go to nightclubs like that. And then by the time I could go to nightclubs like that, there were no nightclubs like that. It was so unfair. But the one thing about my dad, although he really didn't he didn't worry a lot about his wardrobe. He, like a lot of men, he tried to look nice and tidy and neat and all of that, but he didn't fret about it too terribly much. But he did like to comment on what we would wear. And my dad was of average height, and my mother was a little bit on the taller side for a woman on the scale of for a woman. And so when she didn't have heels on, they were pretty much the same height. And same thing with me and my dad. But he never had a problem with that. How a lot of men of average height don't want their women to be taller than them. It's a real ego thing. And look at Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. My parents weren't like that. I mean, there was not that much difference in my parents' height when she put on heels. But the higher the hill, the better he liked it. He thought women should always wear heels when they went out, thought they looked good. And he was very complimentary whenever he thought we looked good. And I would wear, I like I do now, that people comment on about what I wear, but he would he would not hesitate to say he liked something. If he didn't like it, he did not criticize. He really did not. He just didn't say anything. It was, nothing. But he was very tolerant in the things I wore as a teenager. Very, he and my mom both, but um, he always would was very complimentary about clothes and women's clothing and what we wore, and he was really proud that my mother was tall and my mom was tall and thin. Like I sort of have her same kind of build, and he wanted her to wear those heels because he liked them, and she had a lot of evening uh, evening heels, evening pumps, and he liked that, and I just think that's really cool. I always thought that was really cool how while he himself did not spend a lot of time on, oh, I'm going to worry a whole lot about what I wear. He just trusted my mother to buy his clothes, even his slacks, and shoes and the works, everything. And but I liked the fact that he was secure in his skin as a man to say, yeah, my wife is tall and looks great when she's dressed up and wearing those heels, and I always liked that. I always liked that a whole lot because I felt like how secure can you be to to be that way. Gary, my husband, of course, is taller than I am, so it doesn't really matter what I wear. If I wear flat shoes, I wear a lot of just around with my I don't really wear a whole lot of shorts necessarily, but I wear a lot of capris and things like that. And I wear uh, wedges. I wear wedge heels with those. But sometimes I do think about my dad and how proud he always was of how we looked and commented on how we looked, and that makes you feel good. It gives you a sense of security about how you look, especially as a kid. And he always did it my whole life. He would always say, baby, you look beautiful. You look gorgeous. You look fantastic. And, but the thing is, I thought he did too, you know, when he dressed up. And he took a lot of pride in that whenever he was going out, about how he looked. As I said, he didn't spend a lot of time fussing over it. But when he put the clothes on that my mother always got for him, he knew he looked nice. He did. And my dad had this little mustache. He even when mustaches were not in vogue, he always had it my whole life. Up to the day he died, he had his small mustache. So I'm going to try to find some photos. I ran across some not too long ago of my dad in with the gray sprayed in his hair, and I'm going to try to ask Gary very kindly if he will post those on the blog page where this audio about my father's tales is being posted by Gary. And I will be back with more about my father's tales.